dirt roads to rock crawling, two-buck chuck to screaming eagle, moonshine to 50-year-old single malt. We talk about it all here on Wheelin' Wine and Whiskey with your hosts, Jason and Chris.
Welcome to Wheelin' Wine and Whiskey Podcast, episode 194 in Studio L with Chris and another special guest.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Wow.
I'm going to give myself a pat on the back.
Look at you. You're just over there gloating. Is gloating the word? I would say gloating's the word.
I'm fucking proud of myself.
You're beaming with exuberant energy. Yes, you took Lorenzo's job away from him.
I fired Lorenzo.
This individual here, you said, hey, we got to interview him. And I said, abso-freaking-lutely we do. And you took the ball and ran with it. You made contact and made it happen.
Yeah.
So congratulations. Hats off.
This has been on our bucket list. I mean, he's one of the younger, more exciting drivers, racers in Ultra4 and King of the Hammers. Oh. And he races in multiple classes. Well, 2 classes, actually 3 classes this year. Yeah, super, super fun to watch him. And yeah, you're absolutely right. He was one of those guys we wanted to get on the show.
So who was it?
Paul Wolff.
Exactly. So very, very cool. He came on the scene, with the UTV 4900 class 2022. Took the East, West, and National Championships.
Correct.
So just dominated, basically. Ended up in a 4400 car early spring and came on the scene hot and heavy with that as well and fast.
Coming in hot.
Yeah, coming in hot, sending it. And so coming up, KOH 2023.
Oh, this is going to be an exciting show to watch.
So we knew he was racing the 4900. We knew the 4400 was going to happen. So yeah, it's going to be his first time racing in the 4400 class in the UFO car.
Correct.
And which we learned, Chris Hickman and Dan Wyrick are involved there. Chris owns the car. And then we learned there's a third class he's racing in.
Yeah, desert class.
Desert class. So
with a UTV.
With a UTV. So incredible. This is a great podcast coming up here for your ear holes. The background, the story right out of the beginning will set the tone, and it is freaking epic. So it was a lot of fun sitting down here with Paul. So I hope you guys enjoy it.
Yeah, you want to send it?
Let's send it.
Boom.
All right, Chris, we are here this evening with another racer, KOH, coming up right around the corner. I know you've been excited to get this interview. I've been wanting to get it, but you said, I got to get in contact with this guy. And so you did.
I did.
And, races the 4900 class, UTV.
That's where you got to start, yeah.
Just got into 4400s.
Woohoo!
And has been taking home a lot of hardware. He had to extend his trailer to hold up extra hardware.
That's right.
Paul Wolff, man, welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
What's up, guys? How are you, man? Doing great.
All right. So you must have the hell of a trophy room at your house there with all the hardware you've been bringing home.
I just put them on a pallet and put them on a shelf out of the way.
There you go. Wrap them with a little cellophane and put them up there. No, man. So how'd you get started in this whole racing thing? Back how long?
Oh, man. So I grew up at a scrapyard or a junkyard. So my dad started a scrapyard, salvage yard. And
okay.
I have an older brother, he's 2.5 years older than me, and we pretty much would save all the junk cars that ran from a young age. I'm talking probably 8, 9 years old, pretty young. And we'd race them. We'd get them out, and we have a farm, 160-acre farm, so we'd save all the junk cars up, and we called it wrecking racing. And we'd go race each other.
How cool is that?
That's great.
That's pretty much where it started, and my dad had a four-wheel drive mud truck and stuff, so it kind of runs in the family a little bit. He never did nothing like professional racing, so to speak, but we just kind of raced junk cars. I have 2 cousins; they would come. They're our kind of our age group, and they lived right down the road. So they'd come up on the weekends, and there was about 4 of us that ran together, and we'd pretty much race junk cars around the fields. And then it eventually evolved to 4-wheelers and dirt bikes, and then to side-by-sides.
Wow.
So out of curiosity, I mean, you mentioned the junk cars. I mean, what's the more memorable of the junk cars that you were racing? I mean, I'm just thinking of like AMC Gremlins or the AMXs. I mean, or something obviously a little bit newer than that probably.
We pretty much raced anything that would run. So for everything from minivans to pickup trucks, cars, you name it, we raced it. Some of them didn't have brakes. I got memories of we set my dad up one time, and so he's kind of a hard ass, I guess is what I'd call him. And so we get him, and we have this car. It runs real good. It's got a 350 built, had some heads and stuff on it, and a guy brought it in and junked it because it didn't have brakes. And it was kind of all rotted out. But we didn't tell him that part. We were just out running it around with no brakes. So we get him in it, and we're like, hey, yeah, come on, let's go. And so he takes off down the field road wide open, and we're all laughing. We're like, this is great. You don't know what it breaks. And so we wait until he gets close enough to a T where we're like, he ain't going to make this corner. He's going to crash into the ditch on the other side. So we're like, hey, they ain't got no brakes. And we're all have seatbelts on, sitting in there laughing. And he jerks it down to first gear and throws it sideways, puts it in the ditch, and drives out of it. And he's like, I could make that corner. And so that was a pretty good memory of him doing. And that was pretty regulatory of what we did to each other. I wrecked a minivan. That was the first airbag I got hit with. Guy brought a van in.
Yeah.
And we were running it around, me and another guy, and he worked for us at the time. And he's like, we jump in it and we're running, and we're doing this on work hours. So we're trying to be discreet about it to some degree. And we're running through rows of junk. We sell combine parts. We got 150 combines out in the field. And we're running between the rows of combines, and we're flying up to the end of the row. And I'm like, man, what's wrong with this van? It runs great. And he goes, oh, it ain't got no brakes. And we hit a combine and caught an airbag on that one. And so I learned to pull fuses out of airbags pretty quick. So.
I was going to say, yeah, from then on, you pulled those fuses. No more airbag deployment unnecessarily there.
You ever had an airbag deploy?
No, you have.
I have. Oh, yeah. No, that's no joke, man. But, you're thankful that it deploys when it deploys, though. I mean, I was in a legitimate car crash, and I was so happy. I mean, I didn't know exactly why it was in my face suddenly, but I was happy it did. So,
God. Now, of course, you guys were wearing all the safety gear, right? Race suit and helmets and Hans devices.
Oh, yeah,
stuff,
everything.
Right?
T-shirt and blue jeans. Yeah. They had work boots on,
Steel toe, right?
Yeah, steel toe.
Yeah, steel toed, yes.
Oh, man. So that's good times right there. I like that. That's, So you learned backwoods racing there, the deal. So then that was 8-9 years old. Man, yeah, that's pretty good. And so then I was just going to say, I got to imagine the mechanics too. You started wrenching at a young age too, because you break one of the cars and figure out how to get it going again.
Yeah. So I have an uncle, Robert. He still goes with me to the races, and he was a mechanic, and he didn't do boilermaking, but when he was a mechanic and stuff, he taught us a lot how to hot wire cars, how to break steering columns out. The old 90s cars, you could pop the steering column apart, and there was a rod in there that the key tumbler pushed, and that would start the car.
Sure.
So we'd always hot wire them like that, and and he taught us how to do this, and we learned real quick we'd fix simple stuff on the cars, but once you blew the motor up, okay, it went back in the scrap pile. Wait for a new one to come.
Just drag it back to the yard.
That was always the thing. Yeah. So as long as it made weight, as long as you didn't lose any weight, you were good, because everything's bought and sold by weight. So that's all we had to worry about.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So we ended up getting a motocross track. We had 4-wheelers, so we raced a little bit, and we built a little track, nothing special. And we learned we could take the cars and jump all the motocross jumps. And that got pretty wild. That's when things got real interesting.
Get some airtime.
Just going to send it.
Yeah, I probably owe quite a few car crashes to that one. The motocross track was pretty rough on you.
So you realize all this stuff you were doing as a kid was preparing you for being an Ultra4 race car driver, obviously, right?
It did, we learned how to save the cars. So when we raced junk cars, the goal was to make them last all weekend. You didn't want to destroy them in 10 minutes. So it kind of the same thing as like racing Ultra 4. You got to make the car last all weekend. So
taught you some mechanical sympathy, we call that.
Yes, that's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
I never heard that before.
Yeah, mechanical sympathy.
Exactly.
That's good. So then when did the side-by-side thing come about?
I think it was, so we had a Honda Razor. My older brother bought it.
Okay.
And it was like an 800, I think, when the 800s were the big thing. And he actually broke his neck in it in 2 spots, endoted over a tabletop. And
ouch.
That's when we learned, these aren't roll cages. We got to put roll cages on them.
Yeah.
So we started doing that. And then we bought Can-Am Mavericks, I think in 16, roughly. I think it was 2016. We all bought Can-Am Mavericks, and that's kind of where we started racing each other a lot. Did a bunch of trail riding, woods racing, and then I ended up going to my actual first official race in 2017 in a side by side, and that was the hill climbing, Southern Rock Racing hill climbing.
You're out there. That's serious stuff there.
Yeah, it's a little wilder. It's kind of, you get to keep it together for like 2 minutes versus 2 hours, so you can get a little wild. So it was always a lot of fun. Yeah, I've enjoyed it quite a bit. I liked how radical it was at times. You can get pretty radical. It gets real expensive though. That's the downfall.
Ooh, yeah.
Right. I mean, so that's where you just kind of mashing the pedal and climbing hills and dodging trees and rocks.
Yeah, pretty much. It got to the point, the last year I raced it, which I still do it off and on. So I still, every once in a while, if we end up at an event that laps over with Southern Rock Racing, I'll go and race the hill climb still. So, but it's got to the point now to where it's pretty much, you have to hold it wide open. If you lift, you're going to lose. So you got to hold it wide open and just steer, and you can mitigate the throttle a little bit, but if you're letting off, you're not going to win. So it's gotten pretty hard to win. It's gotten pretty competitive.
Well, especially if Tim Cameron shows up too.
Yeah. So Tim is really good. I never did get the chance to race him in a big car, but I raced him at Visions a little bit in our 4400 car. But in UTVs, me and him had a lot of good battles. We went back and forth on championships. So it was a lot of fun. He was definitely one of the guys to beat. If you knew if he showed up, you were going to have to run hard. There wasn't no lifting that day.
Well, and obviously weather conditions play into that terrain and racing style. I mean, if it's going to be a rainy, muddy day, that's going to impact your strategy a little bit, or is it still just mash the pedal and point?
It's still mash the pedal and point. It's probably worse in the rain because you have to use more throttle. Like for where we're at on the East Coast with the mud and stuff, you have to keep the tires cleaned out. So you have to have them spinning to be able to steer or do anything. So it's pretty much when it rains, it's just wide open, and then you're just steering and hoping it goes where you point it.
Right.
Now, did you ever step up to the big rock bouncer cars? I mean, we did a lot of research, but I know you had a car. Just kind of, we're bouncing around a little bit, but I know you had a car at the shootout at KOH last year. Is that kind of a car that you would have run in the rock races in the South?
So the car I ran there, that was a UTV and a single seat. And the one in particular I raced at the shootout, I never did get a full-size bouncer, so to speak. So I took a Can-Am X3 chassis that I raced, and I put 37s on it so it would fit into the bouncer class in one series in particular. And I raced it against Tim and all them, and ended up second in the championship in a UTV on 37s. And
wow.
So, and actually Timmy edged me out. So leave it to him. Of course, had to take my championship away.
Are you planning on doing the shootout this year at KOH?
I don't know what it is yet. They said backdoor and
backdoor.
Is that what we're doing for the shootout?
Yeah.
I think
Tuesday night.
Yeah, I probably won't do it. I got some buddies that are doing it, and There's one guy I talked to about maybe running his bouncer with him or for him. If that works out, I'll do it. But I sold all my single seat UTVs, and so I don't have any more. And I don't want to use the 4,400 car.
No.
I got a little too much on the line with hammers, so it's not worth risking it to do that. So if they did it after the hammers race or something like that, I would be about doing it.
Right.
Not before.
No, that makes sense. It's part of that mechanical sympathy there, Paul. See?
Exactly. Yeah. There's none of that in hill climbing. There's no mechanical sympathy.
or when you're backyard racing there out on the farm. So
that's right.
So this progression from racing these junk vehicles as a kid, and then got into four wheelers and jumping cars off of dirt bike jumps. Doing some hill killing. So then you got into the Ultra4 series. So how did that all come about?
So I did a little endurance racing here and there while I did hill climbing. I ran a couple. So at one time, Ultra4 started called the Titan series on the East Coast. It only ran, I think, for maybe 2 years. I ran a couple of those races and did really good and enjoyed it. But I was my brother did endurance racing. And so I was stealing his car or borrowing his car to do it. And, which is always hot pain, because you're always going to blame each other for, man, you tore up my car. But, anyways, so we did that a little bit. And then, I finally, the hill climbing stuff, I don't want to say bored of it, but I got to where it wasn't real exciting for me no more. And I didn't feel like it was really going anywhere. I felt like the series was kind of stagnant in where it was, and it wasn't growing. Mm-hmm. And that really kind of deterred me to continue doing it. I really enjoy it. I like it. But when the series felt like it was stagnant the last 2 or 3 years, so I knew like I needed to do something different. And I really always kind of enjoyed endurance racing. So I decided I'm going to go do it. And last year was my first year. Come out the hammers and raced. Now I did co-ride with my brother the years prior to that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I went out there with him and co-dogged for him. And then I think I ran Visions. I ran an endurance race at Visions the year, sort of in 2019. Yeah. 2020 in Visions. I finished with the Miller brothers in endurance racing. I actually took a hill climbing car. And it was a pretty good story, actually. So I raced all the hill climbing at Visions like normal, and I took the same car I do hill climbing, which was a full body car at the time, and I had the radiator in the passenger seat, and the radiator's not big enough to endurance race, so we took a weed sprayer, like a water bottle weed sprayer.
Oh, yeah, pressurized,
and pumped it up, and I shoved it in between my legs and the seat, and as we were racing, I would spray the radiator down and keep the car cold. And
a little evaporative cooling there. Yeah, a little swamp cooler.
Perfect.
It was good.
Nice.
So I bombed all the creek crossings. I just hit them wide open. That would splash water up on everything.
Get water on the radiator.
And then anywhere it wasn't enough water, I'd spray it with the weed sprayer and keep the car cold. And we ended up finishing second. We were racing against the Miller brothers, and I think it was Cody and Hunter were 3 seconds. From first to third was a 3-second gap, and I landed in between the two.
Holy moly.
So my gosh.
All right there close. But it was a fun race.
That's a cool story.
That is cool. Literally.
Yeah, literally. Just keeping the radiator cool with a weed sprayer. That's good.
Nice.
So. Hey, you got to do it. What works, man? That's awesome.
Yeah.
That was scrapper.
That was a pretty fun race. That was neat to do.
So when I was doing my research, I noticed your last name, and so your brother's name's what? Nolan?
Nathan.
Nathan.
Yep.
I noticed his name in the KOH rosters a couple of years before we saw your name. So you were right seating for him at that point. What was your how did you feel about King of the Hammers at that point, riding right seat in a UTV as a first timer?
I was fine with it. I enjoyed it. I knew I kind of wanted to race it myself, but me and him we grew up together at the scrapyard, so we work really good together as far as like we think a lot alike. we see angle, like, lines and trails, kind of very similar. And so like when we ride together, we can do a lot of stuff without really talking. We were thinking so much alike that we kind of picked the same lines. And so it makes things flow really easy when we ride
Guys
together.
were on the same page. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah. So, and the big thing I noticed, like if you ever have to ride with somebody, like he was easy because I grew up with him. I would just get over the fact that I'm not driving pretty quick with him. There's some people like there's no way I'd ever sit in the passenger seat, but he was pretty easy to sit there and just got to the point where I just try to watch the map and we learned lessons the hard way out there too. We wrecked a car pretty bad in the desert, and it was one of the deals of so we're coming from the East Coast. We never run lead nav. We don't run navigation systems. Like if you run an endurance race there, you're normally doing laps, and it's like maybe a 5-mile course. You just go memorize it and then race it. And we're out there. We were playing with. That's the only time we ever run lead nav, and we had it mounted in the car really poorly. And it was shaking so violently I couldn't read the screen. So I'm trying to read it, and about the time like I read the danger, it was like a little wall in the desert, and I was like, "Whoa!" And I look up, and we're in the air flying, and I'm like, "Oh, this is not going to be good." So that ended our race short. I think that was in 2020. That ended our race pretty quick. But 2019 was our first time ever doing it, like ever even going to the lake bed at anything.
Okay.
And we finished 5th. So we did pretty well.
Oh, awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. And
I mean, it's so your brother, you right seed for your brother, co-dog for your brother. Who is your current, I mean, you have a co-dog when you're running the 4900 class car. Who is your brother or somebody else?
So Hammers, last year was a guy by the name of Travis Skelton. Me and him worked really good together. And he was in the car at Rush Off-Road. So he rode a couple races that he could make with me. The other races, it just depended on who was around, really. A lot of the shorter races, I don't care who.
You get in the car.
Yeah, pretty much. A lot of it's more just for fun. Like somebody's like, "Oh man, I want to know what it's like." Get in, Get in, hold on. If you get hurt, it's your problem.
Yeah,
it's not mine.
Just push him down onto a boulder and say, that's kind of what it's like.
Yeah. I pretty much go, if you get sick, we're not stopping. So you're in here until the end of the race. That's pretty much how it goes. Yeah. There's no getting out. So, but no, like Hammers this year, I got a guy by the name of Ryan Tewksbury, is going to ride with me. I've known him for a little while back and forth, and, he helped the Millers last year a bunch with their pitting and all that. And he wants to really ride it. And he asked me, and we discussed it. And I said, "All right, fine, get in. You're the one running the navigation. Make sure you call out all them walls in the desert so we don't hit one."
Tell me where the hazards are and where to turn.
So we don't crash.
Pretty much. So he's going to be doing it with me this year. And I'm pretty excited. I think he'll do a good job at doing it, and we'll find out though. Hammers is one of them races that anything a $2 part can wipe you out, or it might, I don't know, you can total the whole car out. A little bit of everything can happen.
Sure.
Yeah,
well, endurance race, like you say, I mean, it's not just a quick little couple laps. It's 7, 8, 9 hours, whatever it ends up being this year. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I hope
what did you think of the course?
True.
What's that?
I hope all the rumors are true. Yeah, I keep hearing they're going to make it harder. They're going to make it harder, and I hope so.
Exactly. I hope so that's where I was headed with this. A good segue. I was like, what did you think of the course last year? And then, they're saying it's going to be a lot harder this year. I mean, I'm hearing all kinds of crazy stories. But what were your thoughts on last year's track?
I thought it was a good course. It was hard, I guess, but to me, honestly, I crossed the finish line and my car was still fine. We finished and we were really happy with what we did and really excited. But part of me was upset. Like, the car was in such good shape. I knew I left some out there. Like I could have pushed the car a little harder. Yeah. So part of me was a little upset about that, but I was also really, really happy with, finishing third. So
I was going to say you finished third. So, and then what was the time difference between second?
Second, I think it was 10 minutes.
So yeah, you look back and you go, could I make up that 10 minutes out there somewhere?
Yeah, I think I could have in the rock trails. We had a few mistakes. Just I don't know if it's experience or mental. So one of the things we did that really cost us a lot was we ran the car, and I've been running the car at the air pressure that I liked the entire weekend or whatever week pre-running, and I was really happy with it. And so we put our new tires on the car and we set them. And then we come back the morning of the race and it's colder out and the tires dropped air pressure. And, and so the guys were like, we air them up. And I'm like, no, leave them down. They're fine. Leave them low. And they never built pressure back up.
Oh,
so we
really?
Bummer.
We got into they might've built some, but they didn't build up to what I thought they would have. And so we got into the rocks and like we ran, I think we were the fastest time through Spooners. Like our time from the bottom of Spooners to the top was like 3 minutes faster than anybody else. And then going down outer limits, I was passing people and I was taking, I guess they were risky lines, but to me, they were worth it. Like the car, I felt like the car was comfortable, but I could feel every time I'd push the car going downhill, I could feel the rims smacking rocks like through the tire. And I finally killed the tire and I had to stop and change it. And so that cost me a lot of time. So little things like that, I think are bigger than anything. Is just, like now I'm going to air the tires up to what I want to run. And that's what I'm going to run, and whatever they are. So, cause they got good enough compound on the tires out now that I think you can run a lot more air pressure than you could in the past. I think the rubber compound's so much better that you don't have to run real low pressure to get traction.
Well, and it amazed me, too, of how high of pressure that people run out there. I come from the recreational rock crawling, world where obviously we're going, 6-7 miles an hour tops. But, we're airing down, 2, 4, 5, whatever it is, PSI. But I was like, man, I hear some of these, numbers up in the mid-20s and stuff. And I'm like, but it makes sense because, you got this mix of, okay, we're not just running rocks, we're running desert too. And with the tire pumped up a little bit, you're bouncing off stuff instead of, having the tire get traction over it. So, to your point there, not hitting the rim,
For sure. What size tire do you run? Are you allowed to run, I guess?
The UTV, they let us run 35s. Which I really wish they would have took the tire restriction off on the UTVs. I think you can run a 37 personally. I did it in hill climbing. I ran a 37 running against the bouncer cars, and I was really surprised at. I originally thought I was going to break a lot of parts. So I started doing it originally for testing. So me and my brother ran out there, and we're like, man, I think a 37 would be great. And everybody's like, oh, a UTV will never hold up to a 37. It's too big a tire, the axles, all that stuff will break. Well, our hill climbing cars are built pretty indestructible. We build them, we have bigger everything in the car. And so I was like, I'll try it on there. And it also lets me run the bouncer class. So it kind of worked out. And so I tried it, ran it all year. And actually I never broke an axle in the car. I never broke any of the drivetrain in the car. I actually found out it was almost easier on the drivetrain because like with a smaller tire, I'd be spinning real hard and the car would catch a root or catch traction and want to break stuff. Where with a big tire, it never would spin them. It would spin them a little bit, but it wouldn't like wind them up real hard. And so the car would just keep getting traction and it would climb the hill. And even surprising to me was I could watch my times from running. So I ran 2 different classes. So I'd run little tires in the UTV class and the 37s in the bouncer class. And our times would be almost the same, for each car. And it would, from the driver's seat, it would feel like I was going so slow on 37s, like going up the hill. I was like, oh my God, come on. And then we get done and my times would be like, a couple tenths off of what I ran in the UTV. And I was like, oh,
Interesting.
wow. Okay. So I think it can be done. I think you'd have to be a really smart driver about it, but your brake over angle and all that stuff is just so much better on a 37.
Oh,
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
What are the, I mean, we're not super familiar with the UTV class, but I mean, so the Pro Mod class that you race in, what are the allowable modifications to the car, and how's your car set up, or what are the specs for it?
Yeah, you're allowed up to a 35-inch tire. You're allowed just about anything you want. You got to keep stock suspension points on the chassis. So, keep the suspension mounted in stock location, shocks mounted in stock location. We boat side the cars for Pro Mod. And then I run a Halo diff in the front of the car and RCVs and have great luck with them. And then HCR suspension and double shear knuckles on the front from Travis Zollinger.
So we met him. Yeah.
Yeah. Travis builds some awesome parts, and he's a good racer too.
Cool. Yeah. It's very cool.
And then you're allowed to turn, you can turn the car up however much you want. Hammers is one of the races where me personally, I actually run a stock tune in my Hammers car. I don't turn it up real high or nothing. I just keep a bone stock tune in it. I may change that this year. I'm looking at a little more. Some guys were talking about it. They may get a little more fuel efficient. I was talking to some guys from Evolution about running like a stage 2 or 3. They think I'll get better fuel mileage out of the car with their tune in it. So I may try that and do some testing with it while I'm out there. And if it works out, I may run a tune in the car. But like all last year, I just ran a stock tune, just left the car bone stock.
That is interesting.
You can, trying to think how to say this. You can run the car harder with a stock tune, I guess. So, to me, like out in the desert, when you start getting in the real big stuff and the car's skipping in the air a little bit, at 60 mile an hour, you can just leave it on the floor because they don't have enough power to blow it apart. Where if you turn it up real high and you get it out there, it'll start skipping up, and then the tire spin lands, and you start grenading axles and stuff. So I almost like keeping it kind of, on a stock tune or detuned, as some guys would say. It seems like it helps with the parts. I can, run the car harder and not break the parts. Got it. There's a give and take in there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You turbo? No turbo, right?
Turbo. So
you do have turbo. Okay. Yeah. So
yeah.
X3,
okay. Yeah. Turbo, and it does good. I upgraded it since last Hammers. I ran on a stock fuel cell, so I could only hold 10.5 gallon at the stop at all the pits and get fuel. So this year I got a fuel cell in the car, so I'm pretty excited about that. That should make my life a lot easier. And I have a quick fill. So last year we were filling 5-gallon gas cans,
just regular 5-gallon can dumping in. Oh, jeez. And so what's your capacity now? Going from 10 gallons to what?
It says it's a 26-gallon tank, but it's probably closer to like 24, because you get down to like 2 gallon, the car will start cutting out and the pickup doesn't pick up. So 24, 23 is probably more realistic of what you can actually run through it. You can push it down farther, but you start cornering hard and the car will start, missing and stuff. So
yeah, that never happens in racing. No cornering.
Sloshing around there. Wow. So, what other, so it's talking about maybe tuning a little bit. You got your bigger fuel cell. What else have you done to your car, the UTV, for Hammers?
So other than that, just really good quality parts and shock tuning is the biggest thing. And then one of the few things I run that most people don't is I run a hydraulic steering setup in the car.
Okay.
It's it's basically like a hydraulic steering in any other car. Has a rack that locates the steering wheel, and then it has a cylinder that actually turns the tires and everything. It pretty much
steering is electric.
Yeah, stock steering's electric, and I really started doing it from the hill climb world. Is where that kind of started. Everybody in hill climbing runs hydraulic steering because we hit ledges so hard that if you run like a stock steering unit, you'll burn it up. And so, and it really started probably more back in 2017, 2018 on the older cars, because the older, steering units were really wouldn't hold up at all. The older electric steering units, they're really crappy. And so we just destroy them in hill climbing, and a guy come up with the hydraulic system for the steering and started running it there. And it's good enough to the point, like, you don't get any feedback at all. So you can pretty much rip a whole corner off the car and the steering wheel doesn't.
Right. Right.
So it's good and bad. It's very easy to overdrive the car. Like, yeah,
well, it is, knowing that, right. And experience and, having, your growing up as a kid and the mechanical sympathy again. So, it's all there.
Where's a minivan when you need it?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I was looking at doing the 4600 class. That's my next, another one I want to get into.
In a minivan?
With a minivan.
Not in a minivan. Well, maybe take it to Crandon or something. Get a good
There you
minivan.
go. There you go.
You gotta do that Gambler 500 or whatever that's up in Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
That does look like a lot of fun.
The Gambler would be great. So, you're very active on your Instagram feed there and love watching that and all the videos and stuff you put out. I mean, it appears that you're a one-man show. There's no way you could be a one-man show doing all this stuff, but I know you're hands-on and you're doing a lot of work yourself, but what's that whole situation look like? You got some buddies coming over on Friday and Saturday night, or?
Yeah. So, Right now, I actually conned Dan Wyrick. He flew out here and is actually helping me. He's actually currently in my shop working on a car.
Good.
So I'm doing a podcast.
Good job, Dan.
Get him on the phone.
Anyways, yeah. So Dan's out there. I got a buddy Glenn who comes over and helps. Got a couple of cousins, and my uncle Robert helps me out. Just different people, kind of whoever I can con into helping that week, and then. But a lot of it is me. And then the guy that does my Instagram is Dylan Patton. So I realized pretty quick that I can't mechanic all the cars and make all the posts on Instagram all the time. So what we do now is I GoPro everything in the shop. So I have a couple GoPros in the shop. I go in, turn them on, and GoPro pretty much everything. Try to do videos to tell people what I'm doing. And then I send all the content to him. And let him edit it and post it out onto the Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Because I'm looking at this stuff and it's not just, quick throw together. I mean, there's definitely some thought and time that goes into these videos. And I'm like, how does this guy have all this time, wrench on not one, but two cars and have a family?
He's a dad.
Yeah. Right? And everything else. I'm like, I don't know how many hours are in his day, but I don't know how he does it. Okay. So yeah, you got people helping you out. That's cool.
Yep. And it's also a help. I retired is what I like to say. So I ended up, me and my brother do the salvage yard still. And so I'm retiring. I'm out of that now. And so I just basically race full time is what I'm attempting to do.
Right on.
We'll go with, I'll tell you in the next year or two if I'm actually doing it still.
Hey, nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? I mean, you definitely got the starting out strong. 2022 was a hell of a year for you there with winning the West, East, and national championships there. So congrats on that. And that's huge.
So I was real happy with that. And hopefully we can keep it going into this year here and keep moving forward and making progress. But yeah, so this is what I've always loved to do is 4-wheel drive, off-road, all that stuff. So I finally decided, well, if I'm going to do it, I got a chance, an opportunity to do it, and I'm just going for it.
Heck yeah.
Hopefully it works out. So we'll see.
Well, you're a heck of a driver. I mean, that's one of the things that caught my attention is watching the races, whether we were live at like Prairie City or watching the races on the TV. But I mean, just watching how you challenge and just press and just continue to dog on some of the top drivers in Ultra 4. It's like, and there's Paul Wolff. He's just going right after Horschel or going right after Von Gittin or going right after, I mean, it's just good stuff. So we know you're going to continue to be a threat out there. And obviously looking forward to KOH 2023, which is just around the corner. I want to kind of peel off a little bit. There's two things I want to touch on before we end this thing. We have plenty of time, and I don't want to end it anytime soon. But I want to talk about family and how they work into your race program. I mean, you got your brother. You just mentioned your friends and cousins. Do they all travel to the races with you? How does that all go together?
So my brother, he runs the yard now. He does a little bit of racing here and there, but he's kind of out of it right now. And then, I have my uncle Robert, he travels with me to all the races back and forth and different stuff. And then, I got another guy that's real good friends of the family, and I call him an uncle too, is Ted. He comes, with the races, the ones they can both make. Them two guys are probably the main guys that go with me. They're both retired, so they can make it to a lot of the races. Other than that, it's just whoever I can con into going and helping. My wife and daughter, they always go with me. So she's fortunate enough to have a job that she can work online. She can't do it every day, but they'll allow her to work a couple of days from home. So that was part of the deal. I had to get a toter home. We used to drive around an old school bus, and it was a little rough.
It's a nice toter home.
Yeah. So the deal is I have to break down and buy a toter home or something. She said something nice she can ride in and work out of and not be fighting everything. The bus was a handful. I probably spent more time working on it than I did driving it. So I bought a toter home, and it actually worked out pretty good last year. They both went to quite a few races. There's a few races they had to miss, but it's definitely a family event. And then the guy who actually owns the 44 cars, Chris Hickman, and Heidi, he has a wife, Heidi. And so they both go to the races with us. And we just make a big kind of family event out of it, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Cool.
It works out a lot of fun. Lainey tends to have a blast with it. She calls it the toter home, the big bus. And she's already been asking, when we going in the bus? When we going in the bus? So I guess she misses racing. So that's a good sign.
That's cool. They're going to be out there at Hammers the whole time that you are, or?
No, not the whole time.
Yeah.
So they're actually going to fly in the week of the racing and be out there for that week. But I'm going to try to get out there early. I got a pretty busy schedule. We changed a lot of the cars around. We changed shock packages around. I'm trying to update shocks on everything. And so it basically, like anything, it always comes down to the wire. And I'm hoping shocks show up this week or next week. So that way I can get them on the car. And then when we go out there, we're going to be testing and trying to dial the shocks in. So we got a pretty big agenda of just mainly getting the shocks tuned in. And I'm sure you guys know that, getting the shocks right is a big part of winning Hammers or doing good at Hammers. The better the shocks are, the less abuse they take on everything.
Yeah, for sure. That is absolutely essential. Who is your shock tuner?
I have Gary, a G-Force, and Pete. I work with them guys quite a bit. Right now, they've helped me all last year and been helping me do the hill climbing. And then on the 4400 car, I'm actually just started working with Radflow.
Okay.
Glenn at Radflow and Wayne Israelson.
Yeah, Israelson. Yeah.
Correctly.
Yeah.
So I'm supposed to get with Wayne when we get out there. Wayne and Glenn with Radflow have partnered together and built kind of a new style shock. I guess it's not a new style; they're all kind of the same, but a new shock. They're going to call it Elite Shock, and it's supposed to be pretty good. And I have quite a bit of confidence. I've heard a lot of good things about Wayne, so I'm really excited to work with him and get to play. And he actually tuned the shocks on the 4400 car before I got it. So he tuned the shocks with Dan Wyrick.
Okay.
And him and Dan did work on it, and it obviously was a pretty good setup. I was able to do quite a bit with it. So he does a good job.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, having said that, because I mean, with the 4400 car that's pretty new to you still, I think you took possession of it early last year, and then you raced it at in the area BFE race in Utah, and you won it. So I mean, something to be said about that right there.
For sure. That was that's probably one of the highlights there of, I'll never forget that race. That's for sure. That was pretty wild to be out there running, and the car did great. Dan, hats off to Dan. He prepped a car and let me drive it. And I don't know what possessed him to let me drive his UFO car, but I'm sure glad he did. And also to Chris, that now, purchased the car and kind of helped push all this forward. So whatever possessed them guys to actually trust me enough to let me drive it, that was a pretty big chance they all took, and I really appreciate what they did for me.
So how did this all come about? I mean, were you guys just sitting after one race around the campfire, and you go, "Hey, I want to drive your 4400 car"? What did you guys,
So
Rochambeau.
Yeah, or you have a poker game or something, and you won, or what happened there?
So
because
when I was doing all
freaking cool.
Yeah, so I was doing all the hill climbing. Chris Hickman, he actually raced against me for a while, and did okay. Never had really a great deal, and he finally, as he would say, he's like, I figured out I was too old to race anymore. And so he actually put another kid, not me, Wade is his name, a very good driver, put Wade in the car, and Wade raced and did really well. And I actually was helping him shock tune and stuff. I kind of taught myself how to tune shocks and do different things. And so I was helping them guys quite a bit, and back and forth, and just kind of helped them all year. And we always got along and everything. And so I went to Hammers when I switched to Ultra4, and I told Chris, I said, well, come out here and check this out. And I said, if you do, I go, you're probably not going to go back to hill climbing. You're going to probably want to keep racing this stuff. And it was kind of a running joke. Like, if you come and watch this, you're never going to go back to hill climbing. You're going to come and race this. You're going to come and race this. Well, he came out there, and by the time Hammers was over, he goes, yeah, you're right. He goes, we're going to race Ultra4. We're
Nice.
And I was like, are you serious? Like, you joking? Like, I really didn't believe him. I kind of was like, whatever. Okay. And then Wade still does the hill climbing. And Chris asked Wade actually to drive the UFO car first. And Wade's like, I really can't travel that much and stuff. It's pretty far for me to go. I can't dedicate it. So then he in turn asked me to do it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm already going. Wow. I'll drive it. And so just kind of got a lot of luck, and just being nice to everybody, I think, pays off, because I've never, like, the whole time we worked together, I never had the intention of him owning a car and me driving it. I was just helping a fellow racer, and it paid back huge for me. I mean, it paid back really well. So
yeah, huge dividends.
Yeah, it's just one of them deals. It's, be nice to everybody, and I try to help everybody. I don't. If there's something that I'm doing that I don't want you to know, I'll just tell you. I don't lie to people about it. If there's something certain that they ask me, like, what's your shock settings, and I don't want to tell them, I'll be like, I'm not telling you. You have to go find it on your own.
Right.
But there's other things, though. I'll tell them. What suspension or what I run here or what I do there. I try to tell people, especially if it's something I think is going to cost them a lot of money. I tried a lot of things the hard way and wasted a lot of money buying parts that don't work or stuff like that. So anything in that respect, I try to be pretty upfront and honest about, and make sure I tell everybody. But there's a few things I keep to myself. I don't.
Got to keep to your chest. Know. Yeah. Well, that's part of it. But I mean, that's the whole deal with Ultra4 racing. We talk about all the time on the podcast is how the sportsmanship and people helping, other racers helping each other out on the course, in the pits, whatever. A guy comes in, from qualifying with a busted up car and everybody's running over there with parts and tools and getting them so they could make the main race.
They want to beat you on the track, not in the pits.
The ultra cool thing about Ultra4 is the camaraderie and stuff. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's huge, and they all helped me last year. Everybody, even like Brian Croft sold us a motor. Literally the motor out of his car so we could finish the season out. And he didn't have to do that. And I think actually he was struggling for a motor for KOH because they end up not getting parts for the one he was trying to build.
Oh,
so
no.
we have his old motor, or his. I guess it really wasn't old. It was a new motor in our car that we're racing with still. And then we had, the Gomez brothers and Joe Thompson. They helped us with different stuff. I probably call Joe once a week and bug him about different things on the car and setting different stuff up. And then, even all the way to Lauren and Vaughn, Vaughn has helped show me and Dylan, my media guys, things to do on Instagram and how to run our Instagram pages a little bit and stuff. And then Lauren actually got me set up with Nitto tires. I was running and running on some old used tires that were pretty rough. And Lauren actually introduced me to Chris at Prairie City. He actually brought him over to my RV, and I didn't know who Chris was at all. And he brought him over there and he goes, "Hey, Paul, this is Chris. Chris, this is Paul." He goes, "You need to sponsor him," and walked off and left Chris standing there to talk to me. So
there you go.
And you had no idea what this guy was, what he had, what his wares were.
No, so for Lauren to go out of his way, as hard as me and him battle, I mean, they're like, that race in particular, I had a front tire in his door panel. So, as hard as we battle, we both, he watches out for everybody. It was kind of nice. I was shocked. I was caught off guard by that kind of camaraderie. People helping us. I was really shocked by that.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Well, we see it all the time. We see it all the time in Ultra4. I mean, walking through the pits at Prairie City and seeing everybody banging and clanging on their cars between races. I mean, hanging out in the Campbell pits for a bit, watching, Brian Bailey was ripping out a transmission or a T case, and Brian was dealing with a transmission. And I think Waylon, everybody was banging and clanging. Then you look at the 4,800 cars; those guys are working on their junk. I mean, but people are, I need a steering box, and they run off to the couple pits down. They've got a steering box they're happy to lend to you, And I mean, that's the cool thing. I mean, that's one of the coolest things about the sport.
Yeah. And Prairie City, man, it just, that's so hard on equipment out there. I don't know what it is about that track, but there's so much carnage every year out there.
Yeah. But that's any of the tracks you get a crowd standing there. That just instantly makes everything worse. I don't know what happens. You get all them people like at Crandon standing on the hill, or Prairie City where they're standing on the hill watching you, and something happens. You just, I can go 10% harder. I can.
That's it. It's just like when you're out wreck wheeling and somebody's like, "Okay, I'm gonna get video of you," and you're like, "Oh, okay, we gotta do something video worthy, right?
Gotta do it for the IG.
Gotta do it for the gram."
That's very true. It's amazing how that happens. You turn the camera on.
It is
south.
So
hold my beer.
Yeah, hold my beer. Watch this. So going from the 4,900 car into the 4,400 car, what was that like? I mean, just night and day, horsepower, all that stuff. I gotta imagine.
Yeah, they're definitely night and day difference. And probably one of the things that I took from the whole scrapyard deal is being able to switch from vehicle to vehicle really fast. So I don't need a lot of time to get acclimated to a vehicle. I can get in it and I'll know within 5-10 minutes pretty much all the vehicle's capabilities pretty quick. And I've always been able to do that. I'm assuming it comes from racing junk cars around. But
yeah.
So, but yeah, as far as comparing the two, they're just so different. Each of them have their strengths and their weaknesses. The UTV is very agile, so you tend to dodge a lot of stuff. And the 4,400 car is just brute strength, so you just run it over. And so
Just drive through it.
You literally do. I'll never forget running at Prairie City and following JP and Darian Gomez, and I'm watching them in front of me. And I was actually had Dan Wyrick on their headset talking to me, and Dan's like, "You can hit that rock pile way harder," and I'm like, "I don't want to break this thing." And then I watched Darian and JP go through it, and I'm like, "Oh wow, okay, we can hit this a lot harder."
Launching.
Yeah, and so I just started. I actually followed them around for a couple laps just to get a kind of idea of how hard I could actually hit stuff with it, and how strong it really was. But as far as like the handling characteristics and that, I picked up on that side of it pretty quick. The car is a lot bigger. And actually Moab, speaking of Moab race, qualifying at Moab, I made some really bad mistakes in qualifying. I got in a UTV, and you can snap the UTV around. So pretty much the easy way to explain it is when you come into a corner with a UTV, you can wait until you're all the way in the corner to start rotating the car, and the car will rotate quick. The 4400 car is so heavy and big that you have to start rotating it early. You have to get it started into the rotation before you actually get to the corner. And so in Moab qualifying, I actually blew 2 corners in the 4400 car the first time. And so I ended up starting like 12th, but obviously I made it come back.
Yeah,
but,
made up for it.
Yeah, it was just a little learning curve. I just had to remember to rotate the car a little early, or get it started in the turn earlier than I would in the UTV. So it's just little things like that you pick up on pretty quick.
Now, do you find yourself, like let's say when you're in the UTV and you're doing something that maybe the 4400 car does better, and you're telling yourself, "Now, wait a minute, I'm not my 4400 car," or vice versa. You're in your 4400 car, talking about that pivot turn. It's just two different animals. I just, and you excel at both of them. I'm just like, where's that mindset?
It's a huge difference. I got to watch the UTV. I'll tend to want to get too violent in the car. So I got to tell myself to back off. Because the 44, you can just push the car so hard. I mean, there is times like a vision race I did really well at that one, and there was a couple G outs, and it was really dusty there. And so there's a couple G outs we went through before you got in the woods, and it's kind of a deal where if you had to pass people before you got to the woods, if you were behind them in the woods, you were stuck behind them until you got out of the woods. And so I learned I could hit the G outs like probably twice as fast as most people were. I was hitting them so hard I couldn't hold my head up inside the car. I would G out and suck my helmet down, and the car would take it. It would take it and come out the other side and never hurt it. And so I learned, like you can't do that in a UTV. If you did that in a UTV, you'd be laying there with stuff falling off all over. Right. So things like that you just can't do in the UTV. And the 44 car, you can do that stuff and push it so much harder. But at the same time, like the 44, you have to be prepared to start stopping it early. You can't, like the UTV, you can drive it into a corner and brake at the last second, and it'll lock up all the tires and it'll start slowing down quick because it's so light. The 44 car, you got a lot of weight moving behind you, so you can't brake at the last second. You have to start braking and get the car shut down, to make corners and to make it around stuff, or you're just going to go through whatever's in front of you. So
okay,
I hit a couple trees.
Yeah, and then the other big difference is you've got a co-dog in the UTV, and then you're solo pilot all by yourself there in the 4400 car. So that's got to be a big thing too, where you're not navigating and everything in the 4400 car.
There's days where, to be honest, I kind of prefer not to have a co-driver. I don't, it's going to sound bad. I don't mind hurting myself in a car.
I hear you.
I don't like to hurt somebody else. So like at certain tracks, I'll let people ride, but like Visions, I wouldn't let anybody ride with me because it was so high speed and dusty. Like Crandon, I'd never let somebody ride with me at Crandon.
We just heard this yesterday.
Yeah. A lot of drivers have said just what you're saying. It's like, they do like not being responsible for that other person. Yeah. And then the ones that are, they're like, okay, safety. We just interviewed Jason Berger, and with Jason Shear there, and he was just saying how much safety orientated they are, and this new car, how it's set up for more safety for them, and Jason really appreciates that, and it's like it is. I mean, we've unfortunately seen it this past year that nobody's invincible to this stuff, and safety's priority number one.
Yeah, and we're getting out here and like at Crandon, we're pushing the limits. I mean, and it's to me, it's a mental choice I make all the time. I can run, and I've done it before. I've been, behind in time, and I'll decide, actually, we've had conversations. Ironically, me and Chris Hickman, the car owner, we'll run and we'll get down towards the end. And AOP was a really good example. I'm running a real wide car through the woods against Eric Miller. He's kicking my butt. And Tad and Dowker and a couple guys were doing the same. And we got down to the last lap, and Chris come on the radio, and he's like, "You got to make up 2 minutes." And I said, "How hard do you want me to go?"
Ooh.
And he goes, go full tilt. And I'm okay. And we threw down like the fastest lap of the day, on the last one. But I was pushing. I knew when I was doing it, I was like, I'm pushing. Like, it's sketchy. I grazed a couple of trees. Like, it was borderline out of control in a lot of spots in the car, but it paid off. We survived. We didn't wreck the car, and we made it back. I have a hard time doing that with a co-driver. If somebody's in the passenger seat and I got to push that hard, I struggle mentally to risk that much in the car.
Sure.
So it just depends. The desert, honestly, I actually feel strangely comfortable in the desert. Even though like me and my brother yard sold the car out there, I don't think the desert hurts near as bad as trees. So if you wreck out in the desert, it hurts and it sucks, but it's nowhere near as bad as hitting like a big old oak tree. They just don't move. So
they don't move. Trees don't move.
Right.
Well, that's pretty cool. Talking with the car owner and stuff, and you're like, okay, what are we doing? And you get the green light, send it. So that's that's got to be. And I'm sure there's some words of encouragement along the way there.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And we've made mistakes with doing that too. Was it Rush off road? I hit a tree and broke a tie rod in the car, and it was kind of being amateurs, to be honest, is what it amounted to. A lot of it. We were running, and we were. I can't remember who was with us. Blyler, Josh, was running, and I qualified first. He qualified second. We took off, and we're going around there, and the guys are bringing radio on me in times. And we're like third or fourth lap, and they're radioing times into me, and they're telling me, "Hey, he gained 3 seconds on you. Oh, hey, you gained, 8 seconds on him." And so I'm like, and so I come back, and it was like I don't think it was the fourth lap maybe. And I radio and I say, "Hey, where are we at?" And he goes, "Man, they're 3 seconds behind you. You gotta keep picking it up a little bit." So I ran harder, smacked the tree, get done, find out that it was just Josh that was 3 seconds behind me. The rest of the field was over 3 minutes behind us. So nobody was even close to us. Shoot. And so, and like I told him, and even Josh afterwards was like, he come up to me and he goes, "I knew one of us was going to crash because we were going too fast." and I was like, "Well, that makes me feel better, but I was the one that crashed." So, and so like I was talking with Chris and them guys, I'm like, "Hey, you got to tell me that next time." I was like, because if it's just one person and the whole rest of the field's nowhere close to us, then I know that I'm on pace. I can, kind of. And I'm sure Josh was just trying to pace me. He was just trying to keep whatever pace I was setting. And if I would have known that, I probably would have backed off and saved it for the last 2 laps or something. So I could have got finished points.
Right, turned up at the end.
Yeah. And so it was just a miscommunication kind of deal. And we learned. We learned a quick lesson the hard way. We won't forget it.
Live and learn. There you go. See?
Well, you always have to have some sort of strategy going into a race, and the strategy is going to evolve as the race is happening. And having said that, let's talk a little bit about the King the Hammers 23 that's just a couple weeks away. Actually, be a week after this episode drops. What is your strategy? I mean, so first of all, you're going to race both 4900 class and 4400 class. What's your strategy going to look like for both classes, and how's this going to go for you?
In the UTV, I'm going to just survive the desert, I guess, is a good way of putting it. I want to do better than I did last year in the desert. I felt like I lost a little too much time in the desert, and part of that was the fueling with gas cans kind of really hurt me too. So I want to keep a little better pace in the desert. I feel like I'm really fast in the rocks. That's kind of where I excel at. So if I can stay within a good distance of the leaders or be the leader into the rocks, either one, I think I can excel in the rocks and either pass, to lead or lead the race. However it works out. I'm not real particular on, if I'm first or if I'm, fifth into the rocks. I don't really care as long as I'm not 30 minutes behind going into the rocks.
Right.
Right.
So as long as I'm within striking distance entering into the rocks, I'll be happy. That's my biggest goal is survive the desert, get to the rocks. That's kind of where I excel. The 44 car is, I don't know. I'm just going to, my number one goal is to survive the whole entire thing. I say that, and my pace that I think is surviving is probably pretty fast compared to a lot of people I noticed. So when I say survive, I'm still going to run a race. I'm still going to race. But I'm going to, I'm not going to risk it in the corners and stuff as much. I'll back off a little more.
Well, you're a hell of a driver, and you've got a proven chassis that you're going to be racing in. So, I mean, it's just, as Jason said earlier, managing your equipment and understanding where you're at in the race.
And then this will be your first time racing the 4400 class, right? At KOH.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So last year we qualified the UTV unknowingly. I didn't have a fuel cell in the car, and it's a requirement for the 44. I was actually, so the whole story behind all that is that I was actually supposed to race another gentleman's 4400 car, a straight axle car. We were going to race together, and we were testing the car, and actually he was out testing it, running it, and we had some issues, fixed them. He went and ran it again and came back, and we had a broken ring and pinion in the front. And this is like the day before we qualified. This was actually the night before we qualified. We qualified the next morning for 4400. So we're sitting there. We're like, well, we already paid the entry fees. What do we do now? And we're looking around. I'm like, well, I'll race the UTV. I go, I'll race something in it. Why not? And so we literally got up the next morning, ran up. We actually checked to make sure the ring and pinion didn't come in. The ring and pinion didn't make it there. So I jumped in the UTV, ran up there, qualified third. And then we went through the tech, I think it was the next day or whatever, the final tech. And they're like, you don't have a fuel cell. I'm like, no, I got a stock tank. And they're like, yeah, that doesn't work in 4400 class. So, it wasn't nobody's fault. It's just kind of it's my fault, if anything.
The way it rolled out.
It just kind of rolled out. And it was one of them deals, we already paid all the money to enter the race. Why not try? And so it was fine. I'm not mad or anything. I heard, originally some people were like, what the hell? And I'm like, well, it's my own fault. I didn't go through tech. So, it ain't nobody else's fault but mine. So, and that how it worked out. So this is my first year actually getting to race the 4400 class.
Right on. Well, we're looking forward to seeing that happen for sure. I had a follow-on question with regards to your fuel cell for the 4900 car, the UTV. So is this going to be your first race with the double the fuel capacity? And it's is this going to be your first race with the bigger tank, the fuel cell?
So I put it in the middle of the year. So after we finished Hammers, I found a fuel cell that was for sale, cheaper than normal, so I bought it and put it in the car because I was actually gonna see if Ultra4 would let me race the UTV in the 4400 class at the other races. And which I found out they won't do that. But even if you have a fuel cell, they won't let you do that. At least last year they wouldn't. But so I bought it all to do that, and then in the meantime, Dan and Chris and all that came to fruition, and I ended up in a 4400 car anyways. So I know, but I've had the tank in the car racing it all last year. Never really needed it. Be honest, I carried around an extra 16 gallons of fuel for no reason, but I had it in the car the whole time. So this will be my
where
first
I was
race
going
where
with
it's
that
actually good.
Okay.
Good. It's going to be additional weight. So I was going to ask if the dynamics of the car has changed with the additional fuel weight. That obviously it gets lighter as you drain the tank. But does the car feel different? Bottom line.
Yeah, you can tell there's a fuel cell for sure. Definitely. You're talking quite a bit of weight. Roughly, off the top of my head, I think it adds almost 200 pounds from full to empty.
Yeah.
In the car, which is quite a bit of weight. So yeah, there's definitely a difference. You can feel it driving it. You know, when it's full, you can definitely tell the front of the car is heavier. There's times when I think it helps and times when it hurts. You know, there's spots where I think in the rocks, having a little extra weight on the front tires can help drag you over stuff. But it also can in turn, you know, help you belly out and get stuck a little harder. So
yeah,
it's a give and a take.
Right.
You know,
Six one half dozen the other.
Well, I think having the extended range in the car,
that's more. The benefits far outweigh the negatives there, right?
I imagine you had a shock retune.
Yeah,
retune.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. And I tweak on the shocks a lot. So I change the shocks from course to course. So depending on what we're racing, where I'll make shock adjustments and even change different sets of shocks out depending on where I'm racing. It definitely, you know, having the fuel cell changes the dynamics of the car quite a bit. But the KOH car is heavy. All good KOH cars are pretty heavy in general to begin with.
Yeah. So UFO car, independent front. And what engine are you running in there?
I got a 490 in there right now.
Yeah,
Brian Croft's 490. So
yeah,
big block.
A little ratty, a little spicy.
It definitely does
800
better.
plus horsepower in that range, somewhere in there.
Yep. I think it did 830 at the crank, I think is what they said. So
wow.
It's quite a bit more. We started with a 460 in the car.
Mm-hmm.
So the 490 was a pretty big step up. So I'm pretty excited about it. I'm pretty excited actually to get it back onto a short course. So after Crandon, the whole deal with Crandon was we had some issue. The car was shutting off on us. We built a oil pressure catch in the car. So what it did is anytime the oil pressure, so it was built, that's hard to explain, I think here. So it was built into the RPMs where the more RPMs the car had, the more oil pressure it had to have before it go to D rate. And what was happening is every time I jumped the car, the dry sump would get air in it, which would cause the oil pressure to dip, and it would put it into D rate. And so the car would go to just an idle and I just had to coast until it got oil pressure back that I could take off again. And so like the last 3 or 4 laps of Crandon, it was doing this to me. And in particular, the very last lap at Crandon, when I went over the jump and Lauren passed me, and I'm thinking all this up as I'm racing, I thought if I pulled the car down to third gear, it would turn more RPMs, bring the oil pressure back quicker. I'd be able to take off sooner.
Okay.
Well, what it did is it actually prolonged it and made it worse because it brought the RPMs up and it required more oil pressure to get out of D rate. So it just made everything longer and made it sit there dead longer. And he drove around me and I was just watching. Nothing I could do about it.
Wave.
So
yeah,
pretty much. And then the other thing is we had some issues with fuel pumps at Crandon. We were running the fuel pump was too small for the 490, so the car was starving for fuel the whole time.
Starving for fuel. Yeah, got to feed them ponies, man. Even with a dry sump sucking air, that's interesting. I didn't think that would happen, but
So what's the solution to that? I mean, you can't do, what's that, an AccuSump or whatever? What is it
you would just buy an engine from Brian Cross.
You just buy an engine.
Well, that was Brian.
Brian just
Brian's
called and he
engine.
said he wants his engine back. So.
Oh, it was Brian's engine. That was
shit. That was, so we put Brian's engine in the car, actually like 2 days before we left for Crandon. I got the engine in the car and fired it up. And then, we left for Crandon. And so a lot of guys don't run a oil pressure shutoff, like, in the cars.
Mm-hmm.
They like, our car, our Force, when Dan had it, didn't have an oil pressure shutoff. So after we blew up the motor and we had to buy a new one, we're like, oh crap, we can't do this again. We can't afford it.
Right.
So
it's expensive.
Like, put the safety in it. And just to be safe. And so we put the safety in it. And that was the issue. I also learned after that, some of the Pro 4 guys that up there at Crandon that race, I was talking to them after the race was over, and a couple of them, the Greaves in particular, they're like, oh yeah, we had that same problem with the oil sump. He goes, you got to get better baffling inside. And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, I'm not going to tell you everything. He goes, but it has something to do with your baffling in your tank.
You gotta manage that oil slosh in the tank. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not the only guy that's had the problem. Just most of the other Ultra 4 guys, they don't run an oil safety. So they're go ahead.
Brian wasn't running an oil safety then because that engine he was running before didn't have that issue?
The Campbells and them run a wet sump system. So they run the pump in the tank. I run a dry sump.
So you put the dry sump in. Got it.
Yeah, we switched the motor over to dry sump and put it all together. And the car probably it's probably been doing it for a long time. Just you never notice because, you're talking it may dip down for a second, comes right back.
Sure.
But it was long enough to put it into a D rate in that particular instance.
Wow.
So live and learn.
There's a lot. You learn a lot from short track, right? And that translates into the endurance stuff like KOH and the longer races.
Oh yeah, it'll definitely help. Like Lisa, we found the fueling issue. So like when we were running down the straightaway coming into turn 1, we were losing fuel pressure all the way down to like 15 PSI from 42. By the time we'd enter into turn 1, it was dipping all the way down. So like the car right before turn 1 would be just falling over on its face. It was just is what it is.
You're not hearing any lifters ticking or anything, are you?
No.
Any Valtrain noise?
None of that.
None of that. Exhaust.
It's the motor's behind me. Everything goes the other way. Right. If I hear any motor noises, they're bad. It's too late.
It's really bad.
That's right.
So, how early are you getting out to the hammers? It sounds like you've got a lot of testing and stuff that you want to do. And what's that couple weeks look like for you? I'm assuming down there.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get out there. I want to be there and be ready on the 29th. Start setting everything up on the 29th is my goal. Like right now, I'm actually built a UTV for Dan Wyrick. So he's going to race the UTV class this year.
Oh, okay, cool.
In a Pro Mod. So I'm building him a Can-Am right now. And then I'm waiting on the shocks from Wayne and Glenn to come in for the 44 and a differential for the 44 are the biggest items I'm waiting on. They should all be on their way, hopefully. Let's hope they'll be here.
Yeah,
soon.
fingers crossed.
Yeah, so as long as all that stuff comes in, we should be in pretty good shape going out there, about as good as we can be with everything we got going on.
And you were out in December or so at Hammers practicing a little bit?
Yeah, so I went out there in November and did some. So I'm actually running in the desert race too. So we're racing a different UTV in a desert race. So I went out and was doing some testing in that car, in my car, and just trying to get a little better handle on the desert side of stuff. So I think we learned a lot. Definitely learned a lot. There's always more to be desired. I'm really interested to race. It's kind of one of them deals. Anytime you go into a new style of racing, there's always a sharp learning curve that comes with it. So hopefully I'm pretty confident I can do good in the desert race, but I'm sure I'm also going to be like, oh, wow, that was stupid. Why'd you do that? I'm sure I'm going to find a lot of things that I did that was dumb, but
you got to get in it to win it, right? It's just this experience, as you've seen and learning from other mistakes that you talked about here. And I mean, but you're producing the results, and it seems like you're a very quick learner. So I have no doubt that you're going to pick that one up pretty quick. So you're going to do 3 races down there over the KOH time frame there. So you got the desert race in a UTV. Yep. You got the UTV race, the 4900 race on was that Thursday, and then Saturday you hop in the 4400 car and race around during the big race.
Yep.
Wow. The race to be the king.
Yes, the king.
I'm excited.
Wow.
So if anybody wants to loan out a 4600, I'll race it to 45.
He's got room for one more race.
Well, no, or you could do a 4800 car. I mean, come on, man. Why not?
Loan him your hey.
Or do the motos too. I mean, come on, get a T truck, a trophy truck.
The trophy truck, I wouldn't mind. Now, the king of the motos, I'm out on that. I'm too old. They fight back too much.
Oh man, that I have mad respect for those riders. Just an amateur dirt bike rider, and I've gotten my ass handed to me plenty of times on a dirt bike, and watching those guys out there in that terrain, no freaking way. It's fun to watch, but I don't sign me up. Be
like Cameron Steele, man. Come on.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat. I'm impressed. I'm impressed that the moto guys, because if I'm not mistaken, don't they have to navigate? Like, they don't get a map, a pre-map. They get a map and then they start racing, and they have to navigate as they race. Like, they don't have
they got a little GPS on the handlebars there, and you know how hard it is to read a GPS in a car. Imagine while you're bouncing around on looking down at handlebars when you're trying to negotiate through head-sized boulders and stuff.
Yikes. Yeah. No, that's a whole nother animal right there.
Yeah, a lot of respect for those guys. Them guys are pretty sharp.
And the younger generation, like you say, so Justin Wicks, friend of ours here on the podcast, so he's racing the motos, and then he's right seating in the 4800, Chris?
Correct.
Yeah, 4800 on Friday, and then Saturday he's racing the 4400, him and his dad.
He's Wicks family racing.
Yeah, so that's cool.
That's awesome.
I'm excited for him, and he's gone out and pre-run, and of course, no problem. He's got youth on his side, so.
Well, he had an old man racing with him and riding with him, and the old man was gassed after a few miles.
Ultra4 Jones?
Yeah, Kevin Jones. Kevin's not going to like me calling him an old man.
Yeah, well, he's younger than you.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my gosh. So, that's cool. So you got a few more parts you're waiting for. So hopefully, the brown Santa shows up on your doorstep soon here, with those parts, and you can get everything loaded up. You got a heck of a trailer too, man. I like your trailer setup. You got like 4 cars on that thing I've seen, and fuel cells, and you got that thing loaded down.
We're pretty artistic. That comes from the scrapyard. So we all jump. You don't care. You just stack it all up.
No, there you go. Exactly.
Ratchet strap Tetris.
Pretty much. So we're actually upgrading. I bought a double drop semi trailer, an old monster truck trailer.
Yeah. So I saw that. So that's going to be at Hammers this year.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. We're bringing it to Hammers. It won't be all the way done, but it'll be enough I can get the cars in and out of it, and still be easier than the flat open trailer where I have to tarp everything and everything gets salted, and that's the worst part is all the salt that gets on everything.
Sure.
Yeah, Midwest.
Yeah, you're traveling out from Illinois, and how long of a drive is that to Hammers from
28 hours.
Holy smokes. See, Chris, our little 7-8 hour jaunt's nothing.
Drive. Yeah, right. Are you, you have garage space in Hammertown?
Yeah. So we're getting, we got a couple, I'm working on it right now. I'm trying to con them into giving me more than one spot right now.
Oh, there you go.
So, because we got, so much stuff, going in. We got 3 different classes we're racing, 3 different race cars.
Yeah.
All that.
Well,
So
if
I'm
you're
trying to
racing
get a
3
little
classes,
more room.
they should.
I think they will.
All
I
right.
think they'll get it taken care of, I'm sure.
All right. Well, if not, let Chris know. He knows people down there, so
Right.
he can get things squared away for you. He's got contacts.
Well, we just want to know because we're going to be wandering around the pits during the week, and we're going to be doing drop-bys on all of our previous interviews. And I don't know, you and I are texting back and forth, you said you're going to be super slammed, but we'll pop in and say hi, maybe take a look at your stuff, and if it's okay, I certainly don't want to impose. But
anybody's welcome. Anybody's welcome to stop by my pit anytime. Actually, to make it easy for you, I have the old Bad Habit monster truck trailer, and it's still going to be wrapped with Bad Habit because I ain't had time to get it rewrapped. So if anybody thinks there's a monster truck out there, they're going to be looking for that. They're going to find me. They'll be sadly let down.
Where's the monster truck?
Oh yeah, somebody's racing a monster truck at KOA.
Maybe you should find a little die-cast one or something, and you can put it on your toolbox.
Just set it out there for everybody to look. There it is. But, so yeah, come on by. Anybody's welcome. Stop by. We should be. I think we're going to make a deal at the Nitto tent and at Off-Road Patriot. Dan Wyrick and his daughter run that and do stuff for the vets.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to go up there and hang out with them and, just meet and greet everybody. So stop by there too if you want to. That'd be pretty cool.
Right on.
So between there and the Nitto trailer and, I'll probably make my rounds to a couple of different places, but if you want, stop by the pit if I'm there.
Heck yeah.
So
Sweet. We'll definitely do that. We'll be wandering around.
Bring by some swag for you.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Always need more swag. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. We got some cool magnetic koozies. So,
and stickers
and stickers and whatever, hats, whatever. Yeah. We got some stuff for you. So what about sponsors? So you picked up Nitto, and Can-Am obviously is big in your UTV game there. So who's been helping you out?
Can-Am is a huge part of the UTV side, and then HCR is really big too. HCR has been with me, I think, since 2018. I actually bought my first set of trailing arms and A-arms from them, and beat them down, and was really impressed with how well they held up. And I started making some highlight reels in the hill climbing world, and they seen them, and they're like, "Wait a minute, you're this guy." So they started sponsoring me and helping me and everything. And they still do. I'm still with them to this day, and they still make a great product. So really happy with them. And then RCV axles, I've ran them from the hill climbing world and the Halo locker. All them parts, them guys have all been with me for quite a while now. And we just upgraded to Zollinger knuckles last year, and they've been really good to me. And then Evo Power Sports has been really, really good. I've ran all of their tunes. So the hill climbing world, we turn the cars up pretty hard. I got one that's right around 310 horse. So it makes quite a bit of power.
Don't tell Jesse.
So we got a couple of them that run pretty good. And then, of course, Can-Am does a great job. Really, really happy with what they do. So, and I'm sure I'm missing a bunch in there. We got G-Force shocks. They do good. And then another new one this year I'm looking forward to trying out is cryo heat. We did some polishing on a transmission and cryo heated a transmission. It's actually for the desert race stuff. They claim to get a couple more mile an hour out of the cars, just having them. I guess they roll better, I guess, is essentially what you're after, taking friction away from the transmission.
Less friction.
Yeah, sure. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited to see how well that works and how well that goes. I think it'll be pretty big. And then other than that, on the UTV Raceline wheels, they do a great job. I've been with them, with Greg from Raceline for quite a while.
Greg's great.
He is. I like him. He keeps telling me he's going to retire, and I keep telling him he can't yet.
Right. Nobody wants him to retire.
No, I think everybody knows Greg, man. He's been around forever. So, and then we'll be doing Nitto tires on the UTV. I did some testing out there in November with the Nitto tires and really liked them. So we're going to go ahead and run them on the UTV also. And that pretty much wraps the UTV up. Pretty happy with everybody on it. They really do a great job and have a lot of good people that stand behind their products. So pretty happy with where that program has ended up and where it's at right now. And then in the 4400 car, of course, I got to thank Chris Hickman, letting me drive his car and working with me, and him and his wife Heidi. They're really, really great people. I really appreciate what they did. I probably had never been in a car like that without them. So really thankful with them. And then, of course, Raceline and Nitto are on that car also. They great job. And then RCV axles in it. And then we do Tube Works, diffs, Jason at Tube Works. I probably talk to him and call him on a regular basis and harass him. So like everybody else, call him and hit him up on everything. So really, really happy with their product. They've done a great job. And then Off-Road Patriot, Dan and his daughter, their company for the veterans, we support them on both of the cars. I really appreciate what they're doing and what they do for us.
Yeah.
Then, of course, we got Brannick Motorsports. They make all of our little aluminum parts, aluminum links, tie rods. They actually gave me some wheel bearings. So I was pretty happy with the wheel bearings. I've been running used wheel bearings all last year. I was rotating out Dan's old ones, the ones Dan said were junk, and he threw them in a pile. I got them all from him and been putting them back on the car. I'm like, that one ain't quite wore out yet. We can get a couple more races out of it. So
there's the scrapper mentality there. I like it.
That's right.
Yeah, so it'll be pretty nice to have some new wheel bearings, and the car feels quite a bit tighter. So I'm sure it'll handle a little better. So I'm pretty excited about that one. That one makes me pretty happy to have some new wheel bearings from them guys.
Right on.
So, and then I'm trying to think of who else we have on the big car. We got Crown Racing. He's the gentleman, Ryan Tewksbury's going to be riding with me in the UTV. So I'm actually using one of his cars to race the desert race. So really appreciate Ryan and his wife. They got on board with me this year, and we worked a deal out to do hammers in the desert race, and we may end up at the Mint 400. We'll see how the first desert race goes. If it goes good, we're going to try to make it to the Mint 400 too. So
right on.
Wow.
I think they're doing that Triple Crown series. Was it the Mint 400, the King of Hammers, and the California 300, I believe?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Just announced that. So that's going to be a good lineup for 2023 here.
Yeah. So if it works
just keeps
out,
growing.
We'll go there. Yeah, I'm excited. Okay. I'm excited to do the desert racing. I've never done it. I really want to run Vegas to Reno. I'm going to try to squeeze that in this year too.
That's a cool race.
So I do know it's pretty hard to do get the pit crews moved around. That seems to be the biggest challenge that everybody I talk to. So
logistics.
Logistics. I'll probably team up with somebody. Most likely I'm going to team up with somebody to try to help cut the cost of doing the race and everything, but looking forward to trying that out. I've got a lot of great people that stand behind me on both the cars. I got a guy by the name of John Arnold over here that does all my wraps and stuff for me and keeps the cars looking fresh and clean. So pretty excited. We're going to have a new wrap on the car, just 4 hammers on the 44 car.
I was going to ask you because you had the Ghostbusters wrap there, and yeah, you've always had some cool wraps. So, any insight without giving it away of what to expect out there at KOH?
Man,
yeah, a little hint.
I don't know how I can hint at it yet.
Without giving it away,
is it
going to surprise people? Is it going to surprise people?
I think it will. I think it'll catch them off guard. It is desert themed. Well, we'll go with that.
It is desert themed. Okay. All right. Cool. All
right.
So
the tease is on.
I'm pretty excited for it.
Who came up with the theme? Is that something you did, or
no? Actually, I'm not that creative. Chris Hickman, the owner of the car, actually come up with this one. So. The Ghostbusters goes to Dylan, the media guy. He called me up one day with the Ghostbusters. And then Chris came up with this one, and this is pretty
Okay.
good one. I'm pretty thrilled to try it out and go, and then it'll be good. It'll be a lot of fun to have it on there, and I think we're only going to do it just for hammers, and then we're going to go back to our standard wrap of normal, I guess, what the car normally looks like. So
Okay.
it'll be a hammers only.
I love it.
One-time deal. So
Okay.
Waiting with bated breath.
Yeah, no, this is going to be exciting to look on the lake bed here and see. Peek in the tent there early and see.
Right?
You'll have the panels off for pre-running probably, huh?
oh yeah, you got to hide
Everything
that.
fresh. Yeah, you got to keep
No,
it fresh.
I
too.
let it get dirty.
Oh, no, you
that
let it
way-
go?
That way, yeah. I normally
always-
just put them together and run them exactly how I race them. I'm one of the few
I love it.
people
See,
that
I
do
love
that.
I love the scrapyard mentality here because even you watch the Campbell's team go out to do pre-running and they've got all their cars are stripped. There's no body panels on
Right.
them. It's just the bare chassis and they don't want to bang anything up before the big dance.
I guess that's a good reason. I don't know. I just get it. I don't know. We even so on the UTV side of stuff, I don't change out axles or nothing. Like I pre-run the car the way it is going to race. And
Wow. Okay.
So and it
Right
just
on.
I don't know. I'm always scared that somebody could leave a bolt loose or somebody could leave the little things that'll take you out of a race. And if you pre-run it, then everything's tight. Everything's done. And so now I don't go out and beat on it. I pre-run it. I'm probably pretty, I guess, conscious of being nice to the car. I do have a pre-runner that I'll run the hard trails in, but I do take the race car out and I'll pre-run it and just make sure everything's tight. I don't like changing everything over and then pulling up to the line and hoping that everybody tightened all the bolts.
The new
they're
stuff is
supposed to.
good. Yeah.
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 So-
No, there's definitely another school of thought there for sure.
The phone rang between tightening bolts, and you answer the call, and then did I
Whatever.
tighten that bolt or
Yeah.
whatever? It's just that moment of distraction, and that $2 bolt ruins your day. Who knows?
Wow.
Yep. I think
Yeah.
the only thing we may change is in the 4400 car, we're talking about after qualifying changing differentials. I just got a feeling that the qualifying on Chocolate Thunder is going to be violent.
That's one way to
There's
put it.
something.
It is.
I mean,
It's gonna be a
I
show.
think, yeah, I think you can go easy if you want to qualify in the back. If you want to qualify
Right.
in the front, I think you're going to have to run hard. And
Yeah.
it's one of them deals. You're running for a short amount of time, so everybody knows you can beat on the car a little harder. So I may after that I'll probably change the rear diff and stuff in the car, especially if I feel like I had to beat on it really hard to qualify
Sure.
out front. So depending on how qualifying goes, will really dictate what I do to the 4400 car as far as race prep. But it'll probably get some race prep done. But
Yeah. Okay.
Right on.
so
Well, that's freaking awesome. I cannot wait to
TikTok,
see you out there,
TikTok.
see what you do. Best of luck in these 3 races. You're a madman, and then that's just it's going to be fun to watch.
yeah,
So-
I'm excited. Definitely. So it'll be
Heck
fun.
yeah.
And,
Glad to hear it.
do you guys go out? Do you guys do any desert racing like the Mint 400? Do you guys go out to all that or anything? Any advice? Any advice you'd give me? Let me go with that.
Hey,
We don't race. We're spectators.
We're wreck
man.
wheelers, man. I can barely afford to wreck wheel, much less send a car across the desert at race speed. So, I've avid follow Ultra4 and racing, but I've never been to a desert race or anything. I've obviously watched on YouTube's and whatever coverage they've had on TV, but that Vegas to Reno one in particular is a cool race. Man, I don't know. You're asking the wrong guy. I could give you Cameron Steele's number or something here. I can look that up on my phone and see. But
Call Cody Wagner.
Yeah.
He'll set you up.
I don't know. I wish I had some advice for you. I'd just say pin it to win it or checkers or records. I don't know. It's flatlands out
Perfect
there.
advice.
Yeah.
Just
No
send
big
it.
deal.
If
Just
yeah.
send it.
I can give you some rock crawling advice. That's about all I could. I'm worth there in the 4-wheel drive world. But no, man, this is awesome. I love you're involved in every aspect, and you're obviously passionate about it and dedicating. Hey, we're doing this full time, and 2023. This is going to be a great year for you, Paul, looking forward to seeing how this all shakes out here at the Hammers and the rest of the year, for that matter.
Yes.
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate it. And then, you guys ever make it out to Visions? Have you guys made it out to that yet? To Oklahoma?
No. We it's on our to-do list. We definitely want to get out there. We're here in the West Coast, California. And so it's a little geographically undesirable for us to just hop in the truck and head out there, since we're not racing. But we will get in a plane and head over there, because the Crandon and Visions and all that stuff I really want to see, and Mid-America Outdoors. All that stuff is just
Disney.
It's just
it looks that's
super
neat.
Cool.
It's I definitely highly suggest that to everybody. Is you got to make it out there. Jason Robinette and them. I've been racing at that park doing hill climbing before it ever, when it first started. And they're good people. They're really good people. They really appreciate racers and stuff. And it's going to be neat. They got a lot of huge things going on there. They're getting some pretty interesting people involved. And I think they're going to be doing some rallycross and stuff there. So,
Pastrana just got involved. So that's going to be fun just in itself. He's I don't think that guy has any bad days. So it doesn't appear to be.
It's going to be pretty neat to see. And like we raced, our last race was at Disney there, and they have the Grand Lake, and talking with them, and they talk about just the most craziest stuff. Like he's Jason in particular, Robinette, he's talking about wanting to have offshore boat racing in the Grand Lake and have Ultra4 racing on the backside of the dam. Yeah. So everybody can sit on the dam and watch boat racing on one side of the dam and watch Ultra4 cars on the other side of the dam.
Oh my gosh, that would be great.
That'd be badass.
Well, you got JT Taylor out there too that does the airboat racing, so he might start one of those airboat races out there too at the same time. Who knows?
I wouldn't be surprised. For some reason, it would just fit right in. So, there's a lot of big things going on out there.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, they got the land to do it, and it's a kind of a freer world in California.
Well, and watching the coverage of the race this year, and the endless river and swimming pool and all that stuff,
and the badass RV park.
Then then the Barbie Jeep races down. I mean, it just looks like a blast out there, man.
I think you guys should enter the Barbie Jeep races.
Chris actually has a Barbie Jeep, so it'd be perfect.
What are you hearing, man? What are you hearing?
Perfect.
What are you implying? Killing me.
I will make that happen. Wheeling Wine and Whiskey will sponsor the Barbie Jeep to go down there. Yeah.
Perfect.
I love it.
You get like Mercy Hospital or somebody sponsor that. That is rough.
Yeah.
I feel like it some days. I'll tell you. I feel like it some days. Bring on the ambulance.
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
That would be good.
Killing me.
Well, good stuff, man. Anything else you want to cover? I know you got a laundry list of things to do here, and we truly appreciate your time taken out to sit down with us for a couple hours here and get a podcast in. This is great, man.
No, I really appreciate you guys having me on and talking to you and getting to share my story and what I'm trying to accomplish and do. And I really appreciate it, and thank you guys for your time.
Heck yeah, man! That's why we do this. It's great. There's so many stories out there, and they're all good. So, man, it's our pleasure. So, yeah, man, I think I
covered it all.
I think that about wraps it up.
Thanks for responding to my text, and thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah,
man.
Paul,
super cool.
It's good chatting with you. We'll look for you out on the lake bed there in the Bad Habit monster truck trailer.
Sure, come on by.
See you in a week.
Okay.
See you then.
All right, man. Take care.
Good night.
Yep.
All right. We're back live
at 5.
At 5. with Paul Wolff. No, how about that, man? Super fun. I love the scrappy-do attitude of just making it work with what you got.
Oh, yeah.
And, now knowing his background of racing around the fields at the age 8 and 9 in a bunch of random cars that perform, handle differently, different engines, all that stuff, it really paints the picture of why he can get out there and do what he does in these race cars.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really proud of myself.
Oh, how's that?
Really, really proud of myself this podcast. I didn't say golf cart once. You know how hard it was?
You just said it.
I know, but it was really hard for me not to say golf cart. And I meant to talk to Paul about that after the post interview, and I didn't do it. But
now that we know him a little bit, I don't think he would have been offended.
No, he's the one that actually got me watching golf carts racing. So the UTV class. So I was like, "Holy smokes!"
Did you have to recover him at Chocolate Thunder last year?
No, dude, he came through, and I that was the other thing I was going to talk about was when we did recovery. James Ronda and I and Eric. Tom was out there for a quick minute too, and Lenny, but. On Chocolate Thunder, and of course they were up front, and I knew he was coming. I see this yellow Can-Am coming out like a bat out of hell,
coming in hot.
Yep, coming up Chocolate Thunder, and I go, all right, guys, here comes Paul Wolff, and there goes Paul Wolff. So it's like there was zero. I waved, but I don't even know if he saw me. He went by so quick. So it was impressive to be right there next to him going by and the other leaders. I mean, they made Chocolate Thunder their bitch. So it was impressive.
Well,
so
let's see if that happens this year. But,
yeah. Well, and then qualifying on Chocolate Thunder, that's what's really going to be. I mean, it's going to put on a good show, and unfortunately, there's going to be some serious carnage. But I just hope it doesn't hold up qualifying. It's just that's my biggest fear is that somebody's going to get wadded up in there.
Oh yeah,
and the recovery is going to take some time. Somebody snaps. Drive lines,
people
differentials.
Get bored pretty quick if there's not action.
Well, that's it, and that's what kind of killed the shootout for some people over the years. Is just the recoveries take too long. There's some great action when it's happening, but it just shuts down. So, anyways, we'll see. And you're not going to be able to walk over to Hammertown to watch it. It sounds like you're going to have to drive over.
I kind of want
the Chocolate Thunder.
My theory, and this is what I was thinking about qualifying, is they still use the short course, but they do a quick desert blast. But that's such a busy section of desert. Mm-hmm. How do you have cars going 100 miles an hour across? Because they'd be across the desert in a minute.
Yep. So we'll find out on the live feed. The live feed's going to the KOH live or whatever with Dave and
will have happened by now.
Pam, Miles, the whole gang over there is going to drop some knowledge bombs on us of the race. So we'll see. But yeah, that's coming out tomorrow. We recorded this the day before, the Monday before.
Right.
So
it'll be dropping. That's happening at 6 p.m. on the 17th.
Yeah, the 17th. So hopefully you saw it. If not, you can go back on the YouTubes and watch it on the King of the Hammers YouTube page. But so this episode obviously is airing on the 24th. So
we're always time traveling.
Yeah, we're trying to stay ahead of this big massive ball that's rolling at us like Indiana Jones. So like everybody else is getting ready.
Good reference, absolutely.
Yeah, that everybody else is getting ready for KOH. Hashtag KOH prep.
I'm just going to throw a few things in my camper and drive down.
Well, yeah, the buggy is. I've got like maybe another hour to finish prep on that, and then I've got to finish packing the camper and stuff and getting that loaded. But I feel pretty confident where I'm at right now.
Oh, good. Yeah,
I don't have a race car to get ready or anything like that, thank God. So
you got a kitchen sink to pack.
I do literally have a kitchen sink to pack. Yes, I do. Smokers ready to go. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's good to go. So I feel pretty good about it.
I'm going to take my barbecue.
Yes, good.
And a chair.
And
a table.
And a table and your remote. And your dog.
And my dog, shithead. That's all I need.
There you go. All right, jerk.
Did you call me a jerk?
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
So, man, it's so cool getting to talk to these, different racers, different backgrounds, but
stories
all with
out.
the same. Yeah, get their stories told, and they've all got the same deal, right? They gunning for KOH, want to win, and it's fun to hear all the different backgrounds of what got them
there's
to
a
that
lot of
point.
different backgrounds, but I tell you, they all converge with the same philosophies. It's like the camaraderie, helping each other out, sharing knowledge to a certain degree. There's always that little secret sauce that's going to be held back a little bit, but you hear it over and over and over again. These guys, they want to win on the track. They don't want to win because of a mistake during qualifying or in the pits or because they couldn't get a part. They're going to share. They're going to share and make
Get you to the start line.
Get you to the start line so they can beat you on the track.
Yes, it's great.
So, anyway, super good stuff. If you have any feedback about this episode, please certainly give us a shout out to us. You can reach us on our phone line, voicemail line, 408-800-5169. Give us some feedback. What's that number, Jason?
Yeah, it's 408-800-5169, and we've got some voicemails to play that we'll have to get out here soon. But
We'll have to get a regular episode one of these days.
yeah, but it's good. So call in. Of course, we got our emails. You can hit up Jason, Chris, or our super producer Lorenzo at wheelingwineandwhiskey.com.
Yes, sir.
Website Wheeling Wine and Whiskey, and that's where you can get that Element fire extinguisher, Chris.
Don't forget about the fire extinguisher. You need them in your tow rig, your camper, your trail rig, your race car.
Yeah, and they are rated for ABC and K.
Correct.
So that means your grease fires and such. And they are allowing them. KOH is allowing that to be one of your 5-pound fire extinguishers in the car.
Correct.
So you're seeing it quite a bit out there. We saw them on Dave Wong's rock crawler. A lot of the rock buggies are carrying them there, and then of course a lot of the Ultra4 guys. So
absolutely.
But the RV one, all you guys know out there, your RV fire extinguisher that came with your RV, you've never touched, and
I wouldn't trust it,
and it needs to be replaced. So hit us up, hit our website up.
Yep.
wheelingwineandwhiskey.com, and you go to the merchandise page on the little sandwich drop down menu there.
Yes, sir.
And
Hamburger.
that's the first thing that comes up. So unfortunately the price did go up 2023. Thanks, we won't get political, but our freaking world, it's everything
inflation, baby,
going
inflation.
up. And if we had the orange man in office, maybe it wouldn't have gone up $10, but here we are.
But you know what, if it doesn't, if you don't use it, you don't need to maintain it, and it's ready to go when you do need it.
Well, yeah, you can justify it. Spending $89, so it went from $79.95 to or $99 to $89.99. But we drop
it's cheap insurance,
$1,000 parts in our vehicles like nothing, right? If it's something fun, well, you just bought a little something for your Jeep. Maybe. It was a few $100. You could have bought a few fire extinguishers for it.
I already have them.
So anyways, check that out, and don't forget to give us a review. We need a review.
That's right,
Chris.
iTunes.
That keeps those monkeys happy at Chartable.
Apple Podcasts. We need some reviews. We need, give us a little love. If you love the show, spread the word to your friends and family that you listen to an awesome podcast. We know we don't appeal to everybody, but we have great content. We have great stories. We
got great racers.
We have great racers, and sometimes we drink great bourbon. Well, no, we always drink great bourbon. What are you drinking over there?
I got some Woodford Reserve Double Oaked.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's nice. I haven't had that in a long time, and that is just, it's like candy. It's dessert.
Ooh, it's a dessert bourbon.
It is a dessert bourbon. It's super good.
I've been drinking the Buffalo Trace straight bourbon.
Can't go wrong with that.
Super good. And I know Raja has it for $20 a bottle right now.
Well, there you go. If you're in Livermore, go visit Raja.
Woohoo.
So, all right. Well, I think that's a wrap. Let's put a bow on this bad boy. Thank you, Paul Wolff, for your time. Great episode, and hope you guys enjoyed it.
We'll see everybody on the lakebed.
And with that,
we're out.